Technology.ie, we're at the Disruptors conference in the Marker Hotel in Dublin, and I'm with Hoey, who's had a very busy day. Kelly, what have you been doing?
I started this morning moderating a panel looking at the Tel Aviv and Silicon Valley ecosystems and how those have and are evolving, and what the lessons are for Ireland and Irish entrepreneurs who are either growing their businesses here or looking to enter those ecosystems. Then I gave a keynote on the main stage on building diverse founding teams and why you want to do that, and really looking at it beyond, I want to say, the check the box diversity, but are you getting people who think differently to help you grow and scale your company? And then I led a workshop on networking.
Wow.
All in a day's work.
I
held some office hours with some startups as well.
What's your own background, Kelly? What do you do?
How did this crazy Canadian with a little bit of an Irish name end up in New York? That's really the question you're asking. So I was an attorney. I was doing securities work, changed jobs, law firm management. There's a theme here. Networks and relationships have just fueled what I've done. But in 2011, I had the opportunity to run a global network for businesswomen. And during that, I really sort of started to discover my own entrepreneurial bent. And then in 2011, I started angel investing, launched a startup accelerator, focusing on mobile or mobile-first investments with diverse founding teams. And now I'm the CMO of a startup. So I mentor a lot of startups, advise a lot of startups, and do a lot of speaking about mentoring and advising and working with startups. So
you get off on this stuff.
I love it. I love it. It's what keeps me young.
I was very interested in your talk on diversity. As you said, it's not about check the box diversity. It's an imperative for a disruptive business, for a startup, if they want to succeed, if they want that kind of. Well, you cited a number of things. You talked about aggression. You talked about innovation. You talked about things like that. These are the products of diversity, really, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, it's particularly the study you're talking about. Companies that wanted a greater bottom line growth, right, should hire more millennials. Millennials are dying to achieve things. So the fact that companies that have 30% of millennials in leadership are having aggressive bottom line growth is not surprising, right? These people want to achieve things quickly. But I think you need to think about, with whatever company you have, who's the ultimate audience. Who's your consumer, right? How do they use things? When I hear a male CEO saying, I really don't understand my customer and they're not using this, and your customers are 18-year-old college girls, it's like, well, it's no surprise. Do you have that demographic around the table as part of your product team? So who's your ultimate consumer? Then taking a big step back, thinking about global economies, thinking about state economies, thinking about, let's talk about Ireland, let's talk about Dublin. How are we creating jobs? Right now in technology, we need to be more inclusive versus less inclusive. Every country, everywhere has a shortage of tech talent. So if you find, a 62-year-old man who's just learned to code, get them in your company, right? We need to, first of all, we need to employ this talent. Our products need it, and our economy needs it. So I take a bigger kind of this is a good thing, this is the right thing to do, but this is a bottom line company return on investor, and I put that hat on. And then this is an economic driver, and we need to be more inclusive, because based on college graduates, we're never going to be able to hire enough programmers for our companies, for all of our companies.
And yet when we look at the stereotypical startup environment, if you like, when we talk about Silicon Valley and a lot of the startups, there's a lot of testosterone going on. There's a lot of sexism, frankly. There's a lack of diversity. There's a perception that startups and Silicon Valley startups maybe elsewhere as well, decide for themselves, well, we'll just hire our buddies and we'll get going on this and we'll get people who think like ourselves. And diversity is for later on when we're big and successful.
It's not sustainable. It's not a sustainable model, okay? At the current rate of college graduates, and for tech jobs in the United States, we're only going to be able to fulfill 20% of those jobs. Like, we need diversity. At this point, this is like a tsunami of an economic mess about to hit us, because we need everyone who wants to enter technology to pursue it. Otherwise, we're going to have this, we don't have a talent gap, we have a chasm. Like, this is like a crisis. So we need to be inclusive. Trying isn't enough anymore, right? And this is also why I said in my remarks, the cities, the regions that promote diversity are going to beat those that are not and do not, right? So people who have, say, great, Ireland's got great talent, and there's diversity, and it's welcoming to people who don't all look like Mark Zuckerberg, right? Why wouldn't you come here and build your company here? Why, if you were a technologist, why wouldn't you come here? Because you know you're going to be accepted and be brought in and welcomed.
And this is more than political correctness, as you say. You've employed this as a strategy in your angel investing. You're targeting diverse startups.
Right. Well, I'm targeting, and I'll give you a story in terms of a meetup when I was speaking it was like January of 2012. And 2 women came up to me and they said, "We wanted to meet you, Miss Hoey. We're both college students and we're back-end developers." And in my very politically correct, classy way, I burst out laughing. And I looked at these 2 young women and I said to them, "That's funny. According to the world, you do not exist. You're 2 women looking to be back-end developers. They're both, I would argue, full-stack developers, but back-end developers. They're both minorities. One of them is also a religious minority. According to the world, they don't exist." And when I started talking to them, the only jobs these 2 women were getting offers for was for IT help desk. And why? Because they don't look like. And one of them, being a religious minority, doesn't drink. So she's not out there doing the beer pong and all the rest of this kind of stuff.
But you're arguing that this is a missed opportunity for investors and employers.
Well, and mainly, I want to say for employers, because now that people in New York have met these 2 women, in terms of me bringing them into my network, me helping them get those first jobs, people are like, "Oh my God, these 2 are incredible developers." They would have been relegated to an IT help desk. They would have done a corporation a nice job plugging in the computers of, people with, less computer ability and technology ability than I have. And we would have lost their creativity in creating product. And that would have been a tragedy.
They've got the skills to do the job, but they also have the minority perspective that gives them a whole new viewpoint.
Right, and they're flat out good developers, but they didn't look like, a couple of frat boys. And we're really, it's just, like I said, there's the political correctness, this is the good thing to do, you're going to create a better product. And then this is a flat out economic necessity, that if we want to fuel our economies based on technology, people who want to build technology, we've got to give them the opportunities to do that.
What's your take on the whole event today, this atmosphere that's going on here, this creativity, these entrepreneurs getting up and sharing their own experience and people lapping it up? There's an appetite for disruption in business in Ireland and worldwide, would you say?
There is, and I really love this conference and love being here with this. There is. It's a really diverse group of people, young, old, to see the students coming out of the MBA program or entering an MBA program who are here and all those kinds of things. People wanting to learn, people wanting to have actionable insights, right? Not just hear a bunch of talking heads. The fact that there's been workshops as well as main stage presentations, the constant interaction with everyone here. But I think what's going on in Ireland is really exciting. I think the idea of what can we do that's better? Like, what can we learn? What can we do so that we have a real driver of economic growth in Ireland, and not just, oh yay, we've got all these great Irish entrepreneurs who are building great companies in Silicon Valley. I want to see Irish entrepreneurs building great things here, employing people here, being creators here, not just consumers or exporters of great tech talent and companies.
Well, we look forward to seeing you again, Kelly, and thanks for coming. Thanks for talking to us.
Thank you.